right, do we like my my jacket as well? It's a Lakers one, as you can see. My husband and I went shopping a few weeks ago, and we picked up a well, we went to the shops and to the Rebel Sport, which is like a sports store here in Australia. And yeah, we found these awesome Lakers jumpers. I'm not really a big NBA fan. My husband is, but okay, we're back. Cool. Lost you for a sec there. But yes, I have been wanting to buy some kind of clothing for our trip to America. And I think that this one will be good. Also, I love purple. So, you know, purple, yellow, my favorite colors. Yellow is my favorite color, but I can't get away with too much yellow because I'm a very pale individual with blonde hair. It just doesn't pop on me as well. All right, let's get into this. So, welcome to episode 2 of Anna's Dose of Reality. And today, this might be a little bit of a shorter episode because it's kind of just, it's almost like a feedback to something that I came across this morning. However, I decided to give you the feedback rather than the person because, and you will understand once I tell you what this is, there is no way in hell that this person would have been receptive to this feedback, even though it would have been hugely beneficial for them, right? So, now I've already forgotten what name I put into the, for the actual title, but I'm pretty sure I said be careful of what you believe is fact. Actually, yeah, I'm pretty sure that is what it is. So there's a perception that there is out there, I suppose, that what you believe or that there are things that just are the way they are, right? That there's a reality that we live in, and then that we all have that. That's one thing. That's all fact. And then like we might see things differently or whatever, but there is a reality and there is facts and you just can't argue them, and that's that, right? Now, I can kind of understand where this comes from in certain things, like for example, you know, I'm female, I was born in Poland, these kind of things, these are going to be facts. Yes, I'm not going to be able to change that. Well, I suppose I could change if I want to be female. But like I was born in Poland, I can't change that. That's a fact, right? Anything, however, to do with anything going on at the moment, any of your current circumstances, any of that is not actually fact, right? This is all perception, and this is something that's very dangerous when you don't understand this and when you actually let yourself believe that there is a fact about this and therefore that you can't change anything, right? So what I'm talking about is there was a post up by one of the mentors that I follow, Jordan Belfort. Now, if you know his story, I mean, if you've seen Wolf of Wall Street, then you sort of know the glamorized version, I suppose, of the story. And it's honestly, from what he said, I think it is actually quite close to the reality. However, regardless, anyway, I follow a lot of what he says, and he often posts kind of very open-ended but very leading questions. And, you know, you ask a limiting question, you'll get a limited response, right? And so from this question there came up, the question was, what is the reason you haven't achieved your goals yet? What is holding you back? And so, of course, you ask someone, what is your reasons? What are your excuses for not succeeding in what you say you want? And of course, therefore, you're gonna get crappy results. You're gonna get people, you know, whinging and having excuses and all that kind of stuff. And so one of them was, I don't actually remember the actual response, but I believe it was somewhere along the lines of, it's just my circumstance at the moment. It's just, I'm not in a position where I can, I'm not in a position where I can do anything. I'm just stuck, right? And so a couple of people posted on the comment back to say, you know, if there's no opportunities, you have to go make them. And another person posted, you know, the very good saying, if doors aren't opening, knock them the fuck over. I think they didn't swear, possibly. But basically that, yeah, if doors aren't opening, knock them over, kick them down, right? And the person replied and said, oh, that's a really nice theory, but I live in reality. And as soon as someone says that, you already know the game's over, right? They may or may not get out of that mentality sometime in the future. That's absolutely up to them. But as soon as someone says, oh, that's a really nice thought, that's a really nice theory, that's a really nice analogy, but I live in the real world, I live in reality, that's not how things are. As soon as someone says that, like, if I don't have many people like this come to me anymore because they're not attracted to me, obviously our energy, our vibes don't mesh at all. But when I read something like that, I just physically and mentally and psychologically just go whoop, like move right back, because you can't touch that with a 10-foot pole. Like, you cannot reason with that person. Because, and this is the hard part, I was tempted almost, because I do like to fix people. It's kind of a complex I have. I do like to help if I can, right? So I was tempted to almost reply and just say, that's not reality. That's your perception. There is no real world. Your real world is how you see it. My real world is completely different to yours, and yet we somehow still live in the same real world, right? But I stopped myself because, again, like I said, I knew from the beginning that when someone is going to fight you so adamantly from that point, unless you're actually, in contact regularly with this person, not just a stranger over the internet, they're not going to respond to it. You're not going to convince them otherwise. You're not going to get through to them. It's just not going to happen. Although, again, that might be just my perception or my experience, more to the point. But I like to work with people who want to get somewhere in life, not with people who are looking for excuses. That's my jam. That's what I enjoy, right? So, and so it was one of those things that I wanted to therefore get into this episode of Dose of Reality. And that's a really fitting name, considering what we're talking about, because literally it is whatever the real world is to you is your perception, is your view on things. It isn't that we are in separate real worlds or something. We are all in the same world. Yes, we might live in different countries. We might live in different cities. We might have different upbringings and different, someone lives in a big city, someone lives in a country town, whatever it is. It's all the real world, right? And the only difference between even people who have very similar backgrounds, very similar, like growing up in the same kind of childhood or whatever it is, there is no such thing as saying, well, this is how my things are. This is my real world, and therefore this is the limit of what I can do. Because there are people who have grown up in, tiny little towns with absolutely nothing to their name and nothing that could tell them that they're going to be successful in anything, that have absolutely become, world-renowned, tip of your tongue people, like celebrities basically, versus same kind of thing with people who continue to live there, continue to just follow in their, family's footsteps or whatever, and they don't do anything with their life. They don't make any great impact in their life. It's not that their real world is different. It's that their perception, it's their real world inside their mind that is different. And this is such a huge, 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 huge thing to know, right? That it isn't up to you to decide what reality is and what the real world is and what facts are about how things are. It's about you to decide what you want to do with it. You decide it all. However you see it, however you choose to proceed is all in your head, and it's all up to you. It's not anything else than that. And so when someone says literally, if there are no opportunities opening doors for you at the moment, knock them down. And that's literally what it means. It means if you want something bad enough, you will go and fucking find it. You will not sit on your couch and wait for it to come to you. You will go make it. You will go create it. You will go chase it down. Whatever the fuck you need to do, you will go do it, right? And when someone says, well, that's a really nice theory, but I live in the real world and that's not how it is. As soon as you say something like that to yourself, you're done. You are done. Like literally there is nothing left for you. There is nothing, because you have literally just said, well, I'm just going to sit here and I'm just going to turn on the TV. And then I'm just going to kind of wait and like maybe look at my phone every once in a while and just see if like my dream job person is calling to offer me a job. Yeah, I might just do that. And then you're shocked that it doesn't happen, right? As opposed to the person 2 streets down from you who is in the same position, is sitting on the couch and decides, well, I'm just going to start calling every single place that is my dream job, basically, that has these kind of things, and set up to see if I can go talk to people, to see if I can find a way in. If the doors aren't opening, I will knock them the fuck down and get in, right? Now, I'm not saying it's going to work every single time. I'm not going to say it's going to work the first 100 times. I'm saying, though, that it's going to get you somewhere that sitting on the couch and waiting for your opportunities to come to you is not. There's nothing wrong with believing you deserve something and waiting on it and being patient for it. But patience needs hustle. Patience needs you to believe in it enough that you can actually impact this, right? It doesn't mean you just sitting back and going, well, just going to secret, ask, believe, receive. And now I'm just going to sit here and wait to have this outpour of abundance and career and relationships and love and everything just rain down upon me because I've asked and I've believed and now I've got to receive. No. You've got to take some action. You've got to hustle. You've got to act like you actually want it. Because I'm sorry, but that person sitting on the couch having a whinge about how things aren't happening to them and the opportunities aren't coming to them, they don't really want it. And therefore, the universe is sure as hell not going to provide it. It doesn't mean that you can't relax. It doesn't mean that you can't take your, foot off the pedal once in a while. But if you want it, why would you? If you want it, why would you be taking your foot off the pedal? Why would you be not chasing exactly what you want? If it's what you want, then it's what you want. And if you want it, then you're going to go get it, surely, right? So let's bring this back to what I was saying, just to wrap this up. Be so careful about what you believe and what you put into your mind as fact and as how things are. And sometimes you will do this without even realizing. So it's so important to pick yourself up on it, because it can be easy to pick it up in other people when someone says, oh no, I can't go work out in the morning. I'm just too tired, right? And you pick it up and you're like, nah, of course you can. You're just choosing not to, right? That's not, you can't not physically get up. There's nothing stopping you. I know, I'm looking at this person, I'm like, you're here, so I know that you can get up. You could have woken up 2 hours ago. There's nothing wrong with that, right? It's purely your perception. It's purely in your mind that you've made this rule that is your world, but you can change that. You can change that, right? And the truth is, you can change anything. You can change literally anything. That's a really basic one, but I'm talking about stuff that's complicated, stuff that's full on, stuff like your physiology, stuff like your genetics. Yeah, okay, genetics you may not be able to change, but the way that the genetics are displayed in you, the way that they actually are portrayed, that you can change. You can literally change everything about yourself. And the fact that most people will just sit back and just go, well, it's not happening randomly of its own accord, even though I kind of, stated a couple of times once in a while that I'd like it. And then they're shocked that it's not happening. I mean, are you fucking kidding me? Seriously. You got to want it. You got to want it, and you've got to choose to want it, and you've got to choose to go after it. And just realize that this is your reality. You have created this. Whatever your reality is right now, you have created it in your mind. And now it is there in your world, in everything around you, in the relationships that you have, in the career that you have, in the life, the body, the fitness, the health, the energy, everything that you have created it. It is not because opportunities didn't show up. It is not because someone didn't hand you something that you're entitled to. It is because of what you have chosen. It is because of what you believe, right? And therefore, if you're ever found yourself in that situation where, like I said, this was a really pretty drastic thing. This was just huge when someone said, well, that's all really good in theory, but I live in the real world. That was a big thing. But people say this all the time in really small ways of oh, well, that would work. Yeah, that sounds good in theory, but it just won't work for me. Or I'm just not in that position right now. Or I just can't do that right now because of this XYZ. And it sounds legitimate because you've put in a little bit more thought into it, apart from just saying, I live in the real world. But it's the same thing. It leads to the exact same conclusion, which is that you've gotten nowhere, basically. So be so vigilant, so careful of what it is, what other people are telling you. Yeah, okay, you got to be vigilant of that. What you're telling yourself in your mind over and over and over, that is the biggest influence in your life. Like, I know a lot of people say, you know, that whole, the average, you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time around, which I believe to some degree, right? But a lot of people forget themselves. And a lot of people forget, well, it's not even mentioned usually. So a lot of people forget that you are one of those people, that you are around yourself quite a lot. And if you are the person in your ear constantly telling yourself, oh, that's just not realistic. Oh, I just shouldn't do that. Oh, that's not really going to work. No, I just can't really do that. I live in the real world. This is not my circumstance. My circumstance doesn't allow this. Blah, blah, blah. If you're the person in your head telling yourself that, you're going to have a bigger impact than the other 4 people in your life that you spend the most time around. And chances are, if that's what you're telling yourself, that's the kind of people you're going to be attracting around you as well. So be ever vigilant about your mind. Be ever vigilant about what you say to yourself, about what is reality and what isn't, because the truth is there is no reality. And again, this is just a choice. So this is what I'm believing, right? But that's exactly proves my point, that it is all perception. Whatever you choose to believe, whatever your reality is, whatever your real world is like, is your perception, right? It is just purely based on how you choose to see things and how you choose to act from them, and what your level of responsibility in it all is. It's a lot easier to go, well, it's not my fault. This is just the way things are because I live in the real world, and take away all that responsibility off of yourself and put it onto someone else and go, it's someone else's fault. It's the universe's fault. It's the real world's fault. It's not my fault. Then it is to take on that responsibility yourself and go, well, yeah, okay, I'm responsible for my life. And therefore, I'm also going to be responsible for how fucking awesome I'm going to make it. Now that's empowering. All right, I'm going to leave it there. If you have any questions or comments about what we've spoken about, I'd love to hear it. I'd love for you to share this over if you think this is something of value that someone might benefit from. And I will see you guys later. Have a great day. Bye.